Hello folks and welcome back to another video. We are already at episode 3 where we are going to talk about style. Now, as you can see, the website doesn't look very good, does it? Look at the font, it's crap. All the same default font, as I like to refer to it, because it's set by default because we didn't set a font. Everything's black, everything's just left, small, it's just boring, okay? In this video we will find out how we can change that. So, let's start with CSS. There are different usages of CSS. You can, for example, add the style attribute. This is an attribute which Visual Studio Code colors aqua. In the style attribute, we can enter CSS code. For example, the color. Now, if we say color red, save the file, F5. And this is red. Everything in this tag, so all of the content. Now this is inline CSS. There's also internal CSS, which is located in the head tag. So here we can just add the style tag, then the element or the tag name, which is P for paragraph in this case. Then you do these squircly brackets. Look pretty funny, sorry. Now you can enter color, let's say blue for change. That's internal CSS. Now this also works. And notice if you do internal CSS, then it changes the color of all of the tags with the all of the P tags. Now if we enter something in here, and then we'll make another P tag, hello world. Then notice that this isn't affected because this is an H4 tag and this is affected because it's a P tag again. Now you know what inline CSS is and internal CSS is. Now inline CSS is good for elements, so if you only want to style this U tag and not all of the other U tags, then it's better to do it as an attribute in the tag. So color yellow. Great job. Okay, you can kind of see that, sorry. So it only styles to this and not the other underlined parts of the paragraph. Notice that this U tag overwrites this blue font, so yeah, because it's inline. Now you can also add the style tag in here, color red for example, and that will change the paragraph, and the inline CSS always overrides the internal CSS. But if we add this, notice that that doesn't happen. The P tag color doesn't override that because we added this. This is kind of like a cheat, a CSS cheat. This means that this can't be overridden. However, it can be overridden if we add the imported here as well. But if you don't want anybody to restyle the P paragraph with the style attribute, then the important tag is your way forward. Notice that this doesn't override the orange color because the orange color is assigned to the U tag and this is in the P tag. So now you know what important is. Now, when do you use inline CSS? You use inline CSS if you want to do something simple like add a background to the body. Background color, let's say bisque. Boom. You can do that in here in the style, but you don't have to. It's just, you know, you could just do it in there. Now, what will happen if we reload the page? Exactly nothing, because we overwrite the background color with this inline CSS. Now, if we add the important tag, then the aqua overrides the bisque. But this is pretty redundant, so you can just delete this if it's unused, and yeah, it's aqua anyway. Now aqua is terrible, so let's use bisque because that's actually a good color. Now here I want to use gray. Gray, you can kind of see it, but let's use dark gray actually. You know what? I'm still not happy with this. You can always use this menu, okay? This will create the RGB function, and these are the parameters. You don't have to know what a function or parameters is. Just notice that you can do anything here, and it will define your custom color. But for grayscale, just go to the left. This is too light, so I can just hover over this in Visual Studio Code and change it. Now let's change the font family because as you can see no, this is just crap font, isn't it? So we can just go into the body to the internal CSS and add the body element. It contains all of the other elements. Everything in here will be affected by this body. So if we do color white. Okay, now white is gonna look terrible, isn't it? Green. Then you can see only the headers are overridden because the paragraph has its own specification. You can also add another body element in here, and you could say it should be blue. And since this one is behind, this is under this one, it will take place. Now, if we move it up, then the opposite happens because this is below this. This has effect, but that is pretty redundant. So let's change that back to black. Let's just say black, and let's get rid of this and this. Now let's change the font family. Now the font family is another CSS attribute you can use, and I like to use Arial because it just looks smooth. I mean, who doesn't like this font? Just the best font ever. If you want to affect the font size of everything, you can enter font size. And now there are a few options. You can use the predefined words like larger or smaller. Notice that small is smaller than small. So if you enter small and you enter smaller, you'll find that smaller is actually a tiny little bit bigger. But you can also enter a pixel amount like 30 pixels, and then everything gets bigger. Or you can use a percent value. 100% is just a standard, so if we comment this out, you can do control hashtag to comment in Visual Studio Code. Then nothing changes, as you can see. So if you uncomment it and reload the page, nothing happens. But if we enter 200%, for example, then everything is double the size. So I'm going to go with 120 because I want everything to be a bit bigger. Now another thing you can do is use the border and underline. Now border and underline is another CSS thing. Border, let's say red, 5 pixels, solid. Now this body, you can also use the border only in the paragraphs. Now notice the whole paragraphs gets the border because it's all in one element. Let's remove the border. You can also underline things with CSS in different colors, like how to underline these basic things. We can also underline, for example, the whole header, like if we just say H1, then these squircly brackets. So this corresponds to this. You can enter text decoration line, and then you can select where you want the line to be. So if I say overline, then there's going to be a line over this thing, and then I can also say text decoration color gray because I'm British. Then this will change the color. We can also just change this to underline, or we can just do can't just do both though. You know why? Because this is one attribute. It gets defined and then it gets defined again. It gets overridden, okay? So let's underline our title. This was the basic introduction to CSS. You can do this with any tag in the body, and in the future tutorial, which will be tutorial number 9, we will learn how to do CSS classes and IDs to step up our CSS knowledge level. Thank you for watching.